Hello, my true crime lovelies. How are you? Oh my goodness. Baby's here, dog's here. You've been warned. He snuck a sip of my Diet Coke and he is up and at 'em. I had to come to you today because when I tell you, and it's the 23rd of September, hopefully I can get this posted today. But when I tell you the state is not playing, the state is not playing. Okay, so remember last week, Thursday, on I think it was the 19th at the hearing where the defense asked for supplemental discovery, they asked for additional discovery, and what did Koenig say?
Denied. Denied.
Well, baby, the state has some additional discovery, and I don't think the defense is going to like it. So we're going to listen to this interview so you know who I'm talking about. But before I read this to you, it's about a gentleman named Abraham Moreno who works at, or who worked at, I don't know where he is now, at the, is it Tealwood, whatever, where Sarah and George lived. He worked at that complex as the maintenance man, and he knew George from when George was yay big. So this gentleman, Mr. Moreno, is 11 years older than George. So he knew George when George was a teenager, and this man was in his 20s, right? So George just turned 42 before he was murdered, like 10 days before his birthday is February 13th. He was born in 1978. This gentleman was born in 1967. He was 52 at the time of George's murder. Now, I know some of y'all's like the math thing, but his birthday is the end of May. And so he would be turning 53, but it would be May after George had passed away. George was murdered in February. So you with me? He's like 11 years older, right? And so he talks about being much different than George, like two totally different sort of lifestyles. You know, he talks about his family being in law enforcement and kind of like, you know, he was implying that they were model citizens, and I'm inferring that he meant that George and his family were from the other side of the tracks. But I'll let you guys listen and then you decide. But first, let's look at this supplemental discovery. You just have to laugh. You know, this is like one of those times where your mom warns you, be careful what you wish for. So this was filed today, 2:47 p.m., state of Florida versus Sarah Boone. Notice of supplemental discovery comes now. The state of Florida, by and through the undersigned assistant state attorney, and hereby makes the following information available to the defense, and states as follows. Number one, Abraham Moreno gave a statement to law enforcement in this case, which has been provided in discovery pages 237 through 247. The undersigned assistant state attorney spoke with Mr. Moreno in advance of trial on September 23rd, 2024. The same day. When I tell you it's hot off the presses, ma'am, it is hot off the presses. Get with it, Sarah. Mr. Moreno, I'm practicing my R's, indicated to this ASA that the defendant was stating that what happened, so the defendant, Sarah, was stating that what happened was an accident on the day of the murder. Sarah was telling this man that it was an accident on the day of the murder. So I believe they mean that she's referring to February 24th, which was that Monday, even though on all other documents it says the murder happened on the 23rd. They're not exactly sure. We know, well, he was speaking between 11 and 11:30, and that's the last we know of it. So Mr. Moreno said that the defendant stated that she was teaching him a lesson and things got out of hand and that she fell asleep. Mr. Moreno recalls the defendant making this statement prior to law enforcement arriving on the scene. So I have a million thoughts about that. I'm going to keep it up, but I'm going to show you my face. I just want to keep it up so I can reference it in case I get sidetracked. Number one, how did it go wrong? Because before, it wasn't, when she was telling the other story, before she decided she was a battered spouse, she just fell asleep. So what was the part that went wrong? This is before she realized she videotaped it, right? So what went wrong before you fell asleep? Or is the falling asleep going wrong? Because that is not how it's being phrased. Teaching him a lesson and things got out of hand. And then he says, this is a whole other hot mess. Are you eating my cookies? You can have it. Recalls the defendant making this statement prior to law enforcement arriving on the scene. So this could be one of two things. This could mean law enforcement as in the deputy, I think it's Shayla Rodriguez who showed up. So fair enough. That was after, the medical people got there. Because if it's before that, ma'am, when were you doing the CPR? Even the fake CPR, like your story is falling apart already. I just think it's sad. So, and I'm sure, because we know Sarah likes to run her mouth, if she told this maintenance man who wasn't really fond of her and really didn't F with her, you know what I'm saying? He mentions that in the audio tape. She probably told Melissa and whoever else was around. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm sure the defense is going to get more discovery from the assistant state attorney. Just let's wait for it, shall we? All right, I'm just going to read a little bit of the background with Mr. Moreno so we all are grounded in who he is, what he said, the whole shebang. Okay, so we'll look at this. This is the testimony. This is the officers capturing what the testimony is going to be. So I'm just going to read it to you as a precursor. Testimony on February 26, 2020, in a sworn audio recorded statement, I spoke with Abraham Moreno, located at Tealwood Park Apartments, front office. Abraham is employed with the apartment complex for maintenance. Abraham spoke about his interactions with Sarah Boone and George Torres Jr. from the apartment complex. So that is the foundation before we get into the actual interview. I'm going to share this now. Wait, let me make sure I shared that. Okay. Because you know me. I'll be talking to the wrong screen. Okay, here we have the written part. On February 26th at 11:45 a.m. hours, Detective Scott Lowen and I, so this is Chelsea Copsell writing this with her very pregnant self. Detective Scott Lowen and I conducted an audio recorded interview with Abraham Moreno located at 4701 Lucier Court. At first I thought that said Lucifer, and I'm like, oh my God, no wonder there's murders happening there. Winter Park, Florida, Tealwood Park Apartments. The following is a synopsis of Abraham Moreno's sworn recorded statement. Abraham is the maintenance worker for the Tealwood Park Apartments. Abraham had known George Torres Jr. from when he was a teenager in Philadelphia and reconnected with him after learning he resided at the Tealwood Park Apartments. Abraham last saw George on February 20th, 2020. Abraham said he would run into George while at the Ace Hardware store or around the complex. Bless you. And remember, George was a manager. Bless you. At the Ace Hardware store. So Abraham is a maintenance man. He's got to go to the hardware store to get stuff. George is a manager there. They ran into each other. They would talk. And they'd also run into each other around the complex. So he's not going over to George's house. George is not coming over to his house. It's like, when I see you, I speak type of situation. So George confided in Abraham about his abusive relationship with Sarah Boone. Abraham would see scratches on George, who alleged they came from Sarah. So George was like, if Abraham asked about the scratches, George was like, they came from Sarah. Abraham said Sarah would get bruises from George because he would try and refrain her from attacking him and would move her when she blocked his path. So really like defensive wounds, if you will, right? So Sarah would get bruised when George was trying to protect himself, hold her, refrain her, move her out of the way when she blocked his path. And she seems like the type to block paths, lock doors. You know what I mean? We've all had one of those crazy exes. I might have been one of those crazy exes. Abraham knew Sarah and George were both alcoholics. Abraham only interacted with George or Sarah when he saw them while he was working. Abraham said George confided in him more than Sarah did. On Monday, February 24, 2020, while Orange County Sheriff's Office deputies and detectives were at Sarah's residence conducting the investigation. The people on the bus go up and down, up and down, up and down. Oh, to be this young with all this energy. Detectives were at Sarah's residence conducting the investigation. Sarah was located outside of her apartment. Abraham, Melissa Sexton, the property manager, and Jean Harris, the assistant property manager, approached Sarah but did not ask her any questions related to the incident. Sarah blurted out that over the weekend, George drug her downstairs by her hair. Up, down, yes, sir. Sugar Bear said we are not running a professional blog or podcast. We are having fun as a family. And I say, hooray, high five. Okay, let's now go to the video. I do want to say, because I know some of you guys are going to come in my comments, the audio recording, as stated by Chelsea Copsel, oh my goodness, takes place inside, I think, in an office at the apartment building. Can I have Eskimo kisses? I took creative license and I put them in a car. Today's date is February 26, 2020. The time now is approximately 11:45 hours. This is in reference to Orange County case number 20-017904. I'm currently located at
4704
Lucier Court. In Winter Park, Florida, 32792 at the Tealwood Park Apartments complex in the front office. Also with me is, can you state your name, sir?
Abraham Moreno.
Okay, and your date of birth?
May 29th, 1967.
Okay, also with me is my partner, Detective Scott Lullen with the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Okay, Abram, prior to us going on recording, I was informed by Melissa, who's the property manager, that you knew George Torres.
Correct.
And you were explaining that you knew him from Philadelphia when he was smaller.
Yes.
And then now you, I guess,
Reconnected. When I started working here in October.
In October of last year?
Of last year.
Of 19. Okay. So,
2 cents.
You last saw him, you said it was last Tuesday?
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday. Okay, thank you. So last Thursday was the 20th?
Correct.
Sound about right? Okay. Now, what can you tell me about George and Sarah's relationship?
They had an off rocky relationship, which was physical on occasions. I'm aware of the fact that George had a probation officer. He was in anger management. And again, they had their good times, their bad times. Sometimes he would instigate the situations. Majority of the times, Sarah Boone instigated the situations, and she ended up with bruises. But that's more of him, like, kind of pushing her off of himself.
Okay. And that's what he told you?
Yes.
Okay.
And she verified it as well.
Sarah verified with you?
Yes.
Okay. Did they both drink a lot?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
In excess.
What?
In excess. They didn't drink to drink. They drank to sunrise to sunset, all the time in between.
Okay. Did you ever see them physically fight?
No.
Okay. Have you ever seen them physically argue?
I've seen them argue.
Argue. Okay.
But no physical contact.
Right. Has George confided in you about Sarah? About anything she's, I know you said that they both, sometimes
He notified me, he had told me on a couple of occasions where she called the police on him and had him put out.
Okay.
A couple of times he ended up getting arrested over it. And that she was the reason why he was taking the anger management courses and stuff. because a couple of weeks ago, he was still working at the hardware store on the corner until they closed.
Right.
And that's where me and him would have more of our conversations than anything else. I'm going there to get stuff. Now it's just me and him, one-on-one.
Right.
She's not there to create this situation.
Okay. And so, just correct me if I'm wrong, you said that sometimes he would instigate it and sometimes she would instigate it?
Yes,
Okay. And he admitted to that?
yes.
Okay. Do you know when, did he confide in you about like their last physical argument or
No.
fight?
The last physical fight that they had, she mentioned it to me, Melissa, and Mr. G when she got arrested.
When she got arrested?
When we were all standing outside, and she said, I want to speak to you, and G walked over to him.
$2
Is it okay if she speaks to us? They said we would prefer not, but that is her choice.
Right.
We did not ask her any questions. She had told us that a couple of days ago they had got into a fight where he grabbed her by her hair and dragged her down the steps.
Okay.
And that would probably be a day or two before this situation happened.
Before the situation?
With the suitcase.
Okay, so when did you talk? When was that?
She was talking to us outside Monday afternoon.
Oh, Monday. Okay. I
Monday.
thought you said the last time she got arrested, and I'm like,
No, when she got arrested, well, when everybody was at her door.
when we were investigating.
When you were doing during your investigation, because you was typing in the car,
Okay.
she was talking to us outside. There was a young officer at the door who heard the conversation. Because he
Okay.
was only but 20 feet away.
Okay. So she told you what again? One more time.
That they had gotten into a fight. He grabbed her by the hair and dragged her down the steps.
2 days prior?
2 cents.
Probably about 2 days prior to that situation.
So that would be Saturday.
Yeah, over the weekend, yes.
Over the
Whatever
weekend.
took place over the weekend, Saturday or Sunday.
Okay.
Then she told us that they were playing hide and seek. He went in the suitcase. She zipped it up. And then she went upstairs and passed out.
Did he ever confide in you, like, what he did? Like, for fun? Besides, like, the drinking, like, is there other activities that he did? Did he ever tell you, like, oh, I'm trying to get into this?
They actually used to do a whole lot of arts and crafts inside of the townhome. And they did a lot of it with her son. Kind of. There wasn't a perfect relationship, but they tried, I guess, in their own way.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else that he would tell you about him and Sarah's relationship that you think is important for us to know?
I think you actually know it all. That they just had a very rocky physical relationship. On and off.
Okay. Did you ever see marks or bruises on him?
Yes.
Okay. Like what?
Scratches on the neck.
Scratches.
As I said, with her attacking him, he's kind of just
Trying to
shove
stop.
her back, but because she's such light skin, as soon as he touched her, instant bruises all across the arms and things of that nature.
Right. Okay. So I don't know if you've noticed or if it's been before, but the door, there's like a bunch of markings on the door. Have you ever noticed that or no?
How much door?
Their door.
Their front door, the very front metal door.
I haven't looked at it,
Okay.
but I know if I was to look at it, I could probably tell you what it was.
Okay. We're just curious if, like, since you had been working here, if you noticed it or saw it.
No,
Compared
because
to-
they had keys. Now, they probably slamming doors back and forth and had an argument. I know of one where
2 cents.
Mhm.
but that would probably be around November.
Okay. Anything?
Has he ever talked to you about any damage inside the apartment that he needed help fixing that you couldn't do?
No.
Have you ever really been inside their apartment?
Yes, I have. I did basic work orders, like change the verticals, patch up.
Have you seen any damage that looks like it was caused by either one of them?
How did I say? It just looks like normal wear and tear of a unit.
Well, I noticed on the first floor there's a half bath there.
Yes.
There's like 2 or 3 patches on that door. Do you know anything about those patches?
No, not the door. I did the patchwork in the ceiling, and that was due to a leaking air conditioner.
Yeah.
The door would have had to have been super recent.
Yeah. One night. I did hear about that.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
2 cents.
Has Sarah confided in you where George was not there? Or is it
The
like,
most she ever did was, we're fighting, we're arguing. He's always arguing with his ex-wife over the phone. I just tried not to get in the middle of that.
Did you know his ex-wife, or was that prior?
Oh, that's well after.
That's
Because I lived down the street from George,
for how long?
93 to 2005.
So he would have started at, you said 14,
Yeah,
so he would have been into his mid-20s.
yeah, but it was me and my wife. And
Yeah.
trust me, she works for DHS.
Okay.
She's a child service kid.
Yeah.
My son is a Philadelphia police officer. Different circles altogether.
2 cents.
That's what I was going to ask. How well did you know him up there?
Oh, not like I said, to me, he was just a teenager running around with the other kids. And I was like,
See him at the corner store and stuff like that?
yeah, stuff like
That's
that.
about
Well, literally on the block, because
Okay, so in 93, George would have been 15, and this person would have been 26. So it doesn't really seem like they were like hanging out, you know what I mean? Like maybe he saw him. I mean, just think in your own life. How many 15-year-olds are you interacting with on more than a superficial level?
I lived here. My brother-in-law across the street was my ex-wife's aunt, and then George.
Okay.
So it was, and then her mother lived across the street. So restaurants. So no matter where you go, everybody sees each other afterwards and stuff.
Now down here, was it just coincidence you got the job here, was walking through and ran into him and went,
Yep,
holy cow. Okay.
that's literally what happened. It was like, whoa, real small world.
Did you ever go out, hang out with them, have
Nope.
dinner, go drinking? The only time we've ever seen them is when you're at work, either here on the
2
property
cents.
or
Or when I go to the hardware store, that's it.
Okay. Did you ever stay after and hang out in the apartment with them?
Nope. I don't hang out with residents.
Good.
can you raise your right hand? Do you promise and swear everything we've talked about
I
has
confirm.
been true and accurate to
I
the
will
best of your...
confirm, I do not swear.
You confirm that everything we've talked about has been true and accurate to the best of your knowledge? Okay. This ends the recording 11:57 hours.
So what do you guys think? Like there was definitely some distancing language in there. We got to get you a channel there. You can talk about your ABCs. How old are you? Hi. How old are you? 1. 1. Good job. 1. What? You saying hi to Judge Kranick over there? Say hi, Judge. Let me know what you guys think about the distancing language. And I also thought it was interesting that he wouldn't swear. Sugar Bear, how come he wouldn't swear? Was that like a religious thing, you think?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He wanted to affirm and not swear. He won't swear, but Sarah will swear on her son's life that she's telling the truth. Well, until she gets a new truth, right? Got a whole new truth, right? See you later. Toodles.